All right. Hey, everybody. My name's Hal Walker, and I had the wonderful privilege of attending my very first SPA convention this last August. SPA is the Society for the Preservation and Advancement of the Harmonica, and I went to the 2012 SPA convention in Dallas, Texas. And I decided that when I was there, I would turn my hotel room into a video studio, and I would invite some of the greatest harmonica players and teachers anywhere to come and give a lesson, have an interview and give a lesson to my audience. So I'm going to present these 16 players now in the form of reading an article that I wrote for the SPA magazine. I have it here on my iPad, and I hope you enjoy. It goes like this. I arrived in Dallas very tired and not particularly inspired. I think it was that Denny's Florida Sunshine salad that energized me to head back to my room and start getting ready. I leaned the bed frame and the box spring against the back wall. Every night I'd have to drop the mattress down from my bed. I stacked tables and chairs into the corner and I hung a black backdrop. I unpacked the camera, the lights, the stands, the umbrellas, and a microphone. Within about an hour, I had transformed that little hotel room into Studio 1411. And now it was time to go meet some harmonica players. Just so you know, I started playing the harmonica in 3rd grade. For about 10 years, I played just 2 songs, "Oh Susanna" and "Amazing Grace." I'd perform them every year at our family gatherings in Birmingham, Alabama. Eventually, I went away to Northwestern University, and it was there that I came across a book and a tape called Harmonica for the Musically Hopeless by John Gindick. I learned those basic riffs, and I spent my weekends wandering around Chicago alone in search of stairwells and parking garages with good acoustics. John Gindick was my first teacher. And appropriately, he was the first guy that I asked for an interview. To my pleasant surprise, John responded with an enthusiastic yes. There I was in room 1411, jamming with the legend. Our musical chemistry was good from the start. John gave a nice lesson on 3rd position playing. That's playing a C harp in the key of D minor. In about 5 minutes of instruction, John Gindick taught us the song Joshua Fought the Battle of Jericho and a whole lot more. It's obvious to me that John Gindick is a true artist and a great teacher. And he's got that subversive quality that I love in a guy. Thanks, John. I found my next 2 subjects that first night as I sat mesmerized in the hotel lobby around a table with about 5 or 6 jazz players. I knew that I was witnessing something very special as Slide Man Slim looped guitar changes through a little amp, and each of these guys took turns soloing over the changes. I was particularly drawn in by a humble-looking guy who was playing diatonic with a sweet and soulful sound. I liked his tone, and I loved his style. His sideways mouth position, the flutter of his fingers, and the expressions on his face were truly something to behold. It felt like he was playing from somewhere deep, and I couldn't wait to capture that on camera. In Studio 1411, Jelly Roll Johnson would be my next interview. Jelly Roll offered a nice lesson on tone. He encouraged us to hold a single draw note and to build and sculpt the sound with our throats, our mouths, and our hands. Back at the jazz table, a strong, athletic-looking dude stepped into the circle with a cigar box full of harps and the confidence of someone who's done this before. Scott Albert Johnson's style is unique, to say the least. Switching harmonica several times throughout his solo, Scott held the harp almost vertically, sliding it up and down alongside his nose as he traveled over modes, positions, and overblows with a friendly ease. During our interview, Scott shared a great lesson on the 4th position. Now that's playing a C harmonica in the key of A minor. He taught us the song Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers, and he got everyone inside that camera playing along. Well, it was the morning of day 2 that I started getting that warm feeling that maybe I really belong in this hotel full of harmonica enthusiasts. I stumbled into a chordal rhythm jam with Paul Davies and Steve Watney playing those MD harmonicas, the harmonica MD, the cool Seidel mini chord that was produced specifically to promote lung health. These guys were playing the way I play, combining octaves with multi-layered tonguing, big chords and syncopated rhythms. This is the kind of playing that inspires YouTube comments like, "Fake," "You're multi-tracking," "Good try." Playing Oh Susanna and Red Wing with these two guys was like walking into a live multi-track recording with myself. During that jam, it occurred to me that maybe coming to Spa was like coming home. So Paul Davies was my next victim in the studio. He gave a great lesson on the perfect octaves available on holes 1 and 4, blow and draw. At holes 2 and 5, just blow. With big octaves and syncopated chording, Paul and I took Mary Had a Little Lamb to a whole nother dimension. You know, I love the way connections can be made at a Spa convention. On Thursday evening, I wandered outside for a breath of fresh air and ended up meeting 2 really nice guys from France. Sunnyside Bob is a fun and friendly guy from Metz. With his Eastern French accent, he took a particular interest in my name, Hell Walker. He couldn't believe that someone was actually named Hell Walker. I was sorry to disappoint him the next day when I clarified that my name is actually not Hell Walker, but rather Hal Walker. Within 25 minutes of conversation, Sunnyside Bob, Marco Ballon, and I were on our way up the elevators to Studio 1411. What a treat. I got to sit between 2 French guys on a Thursday night in Dallas and learn a basic train rhythm. To end the set, Marco Ballon from Marseille treated us to some Jimi Hendrix, Hohner XB40 style. Speaking of nice harps, my first chromatic harmonica purchase was at the Garden State Harmonica Festival in 2011. I opted for the Suzuki G48W, a sweet harp. Watching online video reviews, I came across a guy named Brendan Power. I immediately became a big fan. As far as I'm concerned, Brendan Power is the cutting edge of harmonica playing and harmonica technology. On Friday morning, I was so pleased to walk into an 8:30 workshop on live looping and see Brendan Power at the front of the room. I moved directly to the front row. At the end of the workshop, Brendan announced that he was catching a flight to the UK in 45 minutes. I asked myself, do I have the balls to introduce myself and ask Brendan Power to an interview when he's on the way out the door? Well, apparently I did, and he gave an enthusiastic yes. We squeezed in a 20-minute video session with a lesson on 2 forms of vibrato. We also managed to do some last-minute business, as Brendan sold me one of his own original harmonicas, the Power Bender in A. That's the one I was playing at the start of this video blog. I spent the rest of the conference learning the layout of that harp as I walked the halls and rode the elevators. Several times I chose the reverberating stairwell over the elevator. Sauntering down 14 flights of stairs, mode after mode, and bend after bend revealed themselves to me. Nice work, Brendan Power. Nice to meet you, Brendan.
Nice to meet you, Hal. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Speaking of power, let's talk about tango harmonica virtuoso Joe Powers. Friendly to the camera, Joe Powers pulls passion, drama, heartbreak, and love through the 16 holes on his chromatic. He does the tango with his Sirius 64. With closed eyes, he plays single notes off to one side of his mouth and then opens it up to flying octaves, all the while being a super nice and humble guy. Joe has done the work to become a master, and I was honored to sit next to him as we filmed his passionate tango, Paciencia. And then he offered a lesson in hand tremolo. You know, believe it or not, after 35 years of playing the harmonica, I've never held a diatonic the way Joe explained that night. We closed with a tremolo-laden O Susanna in the key of C, and then a double harp jam. It was nice. You know, I've always been drawn to smart-looking guys with scruffy beards and a relaxed sense of style. You can't judge a book by its cover, but somehow, just by looking at Sam Friedman, I knew he was good. I remember the way I'd seen him play bass riffs on the piano with his left hand, while he played jazz riffs on the diatonic with his right hand, wailing notes that I didn't even know existed. On jazz night in the pub, there was a rumor going around that Sam Friedman only carries one B-flat diatonic, and he plays it in all keys. In our interview, Sam dispelled that rumor. He actually carries several harps, and he plays them all in all keys. On camera, Sam and I had a really interesting conversation on the art of improvisation. To briefly summarize his most adamant words, when you're improvising, make sure you're listening. Pay attention to what the other guy's doing. Those are wise words by Sam Friedman. Well, I can't tell you how happy I am to be working with Al and Judy Smith in a new harmonica quartet called Reed City. What an honor it is to sit every week at the dining room table of these two living legends. Al with his lovable demand for excellence, and Judy with her warm hospitality and her willingness to play the harmony. Our bass player, Dave Watt, couldn't make it to Spa, so we recruited George Miklas to fill in as we opened the show on Wednesday evening. As my middle-aged eyes and newcomer nerves went in and out of focus on the notes of My Heart Belongs to Daddy, I vowed then and there that from now on, I will memorize the music. I know it's not going to be easy, but one song at a time, I've got to do it. Reed City's video session was fun. We chose to perform Maltese Melody, Valsentino, and In My Solitude. Judy quickly learned the bass parts, and we played as a trio. I love the way three harmonica players can turn a song into a symphony. Bass, chord, and chromatic. A tradition that must never die. Well, I'd gone into this video project assuming that my goal would be to interview the biggest names and the greatest players at the conference. By Friday afternoon, I'd realized that this was the wrong approach. Every person at that conference has a story to tell and a lesson to teach. So when I shared an elevator with a 12-year-old kid holding a bag of customized harps, I didn't hesitate to ask for an interview. Carlos Romera is a kid from Florida with a natural-born feeling for the blues. I suggested that his lesson be on the 12-bar blues format. Together, Carlos and I explored 12 bars with big chords, blows, and draws. You know, as a guy who's just been making it up my whole life, I needed that lesson. I need to get that form into my bones. 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 1, 5. Thanks, Carlos. You rock. You know, for the first couple days, I passed by that front couch where the old-timers were leading songs that everybody knows. With a smile and a nod, I poo-pooed the Sardo brothers. But it wasn't until Friday morning that I finally sat down to join in. As I played along by ear on Beautiful Dreamer, What a Wonderful World, and You Are My Sunshine, my heart expanded. these are the great songs of the American Songbook. Phil and Tony Sardo bring people together with these songs. What a treat it was to hear Tony tell the story of his first harmonica, and then to swoon in unison with Phil's chromatic. Leading familiar songs from the couch, these guys do a tremendous service, and I can't wait to play along next year in St. Louis. Well, through the wonders of YouTube, I've admired the Swede Philip Gers from a distance. With 130,000 views and growing, he's doing fairly well. At the ripe young age of his mid-20s, Philip Gers is a creative and flowering musician. At his Friday afternoon concert, I fell in love with his original February song. In our 1411 session, he used hand motions to illustrate the blows and draws of a beautiful Swedish hymn called The Flowering Season That Now Arrives. He shared his secret technique of maintaining a drone throughout the piece by switching between 2 draw and 3 blow on the left side of his tongue block. I can't wait to borrow it, to master it, and then copyright it. Philippe, what a beautiful melody. Just kidding,
Thank
Phil.
you.
Nice. What is that?
That is a Swedish hymn that is called Den blomstertid nu kommer.
You know, I've never been the kind of harp player that picks up a bullet mic and wails the blues in front of a bar band. I prefer the acoustic warmth of folk venues, concert halls, and church sanctuaries. But on Friday night, when Don Wickham stepped up to the mic and played Georgia on My Mind, my perspective shifted. I loved the way he knew exactly where the song was heading and when the changes were happening. He screamed those Jimmy Reed high bends, and he set that mic on fire. In the studio, I enjoyed getting a lesson on 8, 9, and 10 blow bend from Don. He plays these beautiful wooden comb customized Seidel 1847s with precision, and he makes a deep, soulful sound, even when he's blowing the high notes. As I sat enjoying Friday night's concert, it occurred to me that I hadn't yet interviewed a single woman. About that same time, Kalina Hutchins walked onto the stage and played Midnight on the Water. I'm a true lover of waltzes, and Kalina charmed me with her southern drawl. For our interview, she performed her award-winning Orange Blossom Special, and then shared a lesson on the train rhythm of that song. On camera, with her sweet smile and a flower in her hair, you can tell she's going to be a real heartbreaker. Well, the week was wrapping up and everybody was dressed up for the banquet. I saw Joe Falisco standing alone for a moment, and I decided to grab one last opportunity. Joe responded with the familiar spa generosity that I had now become accustomed to. "How about we do it right now?" he said. 5 minutes later, we were in Studio 1411, and Joe Falisco was teaching me a Cajun tune called The Criminal Waltz. I'm so glad that my old guitar friend from Ohio, Eric Noden, has teamed up with Joe, and together they're traveling the world, spreading the good word of the harmonica. I figured that with the Falisco interview I was done. I'd be satisfied with 15. That was until I walked out of the banquet hall into a circle of 20 guys with A-harps playing the blues in E. I heard one young player take a powerful lead, and I got greedy. My final interview of the week was a lesson in harp boxing. That's beatbox and harmonica playing, from Brandon Bailey. We turned the spoken words boots and cats into the kick drum, the snare, and the hi-hat. Boots and cats. I was so impressed with Brandon's well-spoken teaching style. I can't wait for you to see the video. In all, I captured 16 HD interviews with lessons. We're going to be releasing them one at a time on my weekly blog at harmonica.com/how. But there were hundreds of interviews that I missed. Every other attendee at that conference in Dallas has their own story and a great lesson to share. I guess there's always next year in St. Louis. Well, Saturday night was a late night jam session, and I finally made it back to the room at 1:30 in the morning, and I knew it was way past time to pack it up. My shuttle would be leaving at 6 a.m., and my bed was still in pieces against the wall. I took one last photograph of Studio 1411, and then I enjoyed putting the room back together. Somehow I made it to the airport on time with one last Denny's breakfast in a bag. As I sit now waiting for a connecting flight in Detroit, I'm struck with a certain sadness. In the regular world, we can't just stroll down the hallway blowing a power bender in A. I know I could do it here in the concourse. In fact, it may draw one of these thousands of Sunday travelers into the wondrous world of the harmonica. But I'm surviving on 3 hours of sleep, and my courage is very low. So I return home to Ohio with a new family, a family of blowers and suckers, a family of great talent and welcoming humility, a family that plays the kind of music that I love on an instrument that has helped to define my life here on this earth. Thank you, Spa. I'm glad to know you. And I'll be seeing you in St. Louis. Well, that's that. I hope you enjoyed it and look forward to the one-at-a-time release of these 16 videos.